Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. 2026. We're gathered here for our Administrative Matters meeting. As is our tradition, would you be kind enough to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much for participating. Welcome once again. And I bet we can all agree that it was a good reminder how to use umbrellas and wear rain jackets. And we're all very grateful for I believe it's called moisture. And we'll hear more about that later. So, with that, my name is John Kafalas, Commissioner, District 1, joined by Commissioner Kristen Stevens, District 2. Commissioner Shattuck McNally is away. Across the way, we have Diane from the Clerk and Recorder's Office, Lorenda from our County Manager, Tom Clayton, and Brenda Jimison from our office upstairs, Public Affairs and Administrative Oversight, and all of that. Let's see. With that, we'll begin with public comment. I know that, Susan, you signed up for public comment, but that'll be during the proclamation. We do have somebody who we need to call, Carol Mahoney, so we'll go there.
Sorry, Commissioner.
That's quite all right. While we're waiting, I'll also mention that we have our acting sheriff here with us this morning, Troy Badberg. Thank you for being here, sir.
Sorry.
Hello. It sounds like we are finally working at this point.
Yes, Carol, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Good morning. We are here for public comment. If you would be kind enough to identify yourself for the record and offer your 3 minutes of public comment.
That's terrific. Hi, my name is Carol Mahoney, and I live in the northwest part of Fort Collins in Skyline Mobile Home Community. I've worked for the city of Fort Collins in various capacities on a number of mobile home park issues, and I'm also a member of MeVOS, an organization of mobile home leaders throughout the county. A few of our Skyline residents have been working on emergency preparedness issues, as our park has a population that can be quite vulnerable if a fire or flood occurs. The Ponds fire last month was a very helpful dry run on park management and resident preparedness. There were some kinks in the Skyline's internal emergency notifications sent to residents, and most importantly, we found that many people are not signed up for NOCO alerts. There is much education that needs to be provided to residents, especially senior parks, which are Skyline and North College, as technology may be a barrier for some folks, lack of transportation, along with mobility or other health issues. The other barrier across all ages and communities is the psychology of it won't happen here, or we just had rain, so no fires will occur. So I'm glad that we have a discussion today on a fire ban, and thank you, Commissioner Cathalis, for bringing up the mobile home emergency prep yesterday in the work session. Thankfully, Skyline's park manager is helpful. However, not all parks have such receptive managers or owners. From feedback we've received, it appears that most parks do not have a basic evacuation plan or provide educational materials to residents. Several of us have met recently with city and county emergency management personnel, along with folks from the Sheriff's Department and Poudre Fire Authority. Some of us have also gone through emergency preparedness programs with both the city and the county. Barbara Bennett of the Sheriff's Department will meet with us this week on block captain training, and a few other parks already have established neighborhood watch programs that include preparedness training. Other issues of concern include fire mitigation in parks with trees very close to home and some homes having flammable materials nearby. Many parks may only have one way in or out. If a park with 500-plus residents needs to evacuate immediately, and many homes have more than one vehicle, how quickly can 1,000-plus vehicles be moved out, as well as police trying to manage incoming who want to return to get valuables or pets? If the main exit is blocked, is there a secondary emergency exit? Many parks don't have this. Discussions need to begin to see if secondary exits can be established, knowing the issue is complex and will take time. These are multi-layered issues, but we're very glad to proceed with further discussions and collaboration on these topics. And many thanks to our first responders for helping to keep residents safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. So at this time, we don't have anyone signed up for additional public comment. I would like to see if there's anyone here in person who wishes to offer public comment who may not have signed up. We'll give that a go. All right, then. And Brenda, we're not aware of anyone else who wishes for us to call them in order to participate? Okay. All right, Brenda, thank you. Then we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting. And Commissioner Stevens, this is an opportunity if you want to offer a little bit of feedback or something based on what we just heard from Carol.
Yeah, I really appreciate Carol's comments. And, I think that this is something to be aware of. It's obviously something for first responders and our Office of Emergency Management. I know that they've done a lot of work in the space. It sounds like she's connected with the right people, but I think we'll follow up and make sure that some of the senior living communities have the information that they need. So really appreciate Carol's, being willing to lead in this space. And, we can follow up with MIVOs and others to make sure that folks have the information that they need to help themselves. So great comments.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner. I'll just offer a couple of quick comments. So this matter was brought to our attention last week when we had a mock administrative matters meeting here. And Carol and some other folks were present with me, boss. And I know we have brought it up in the work session. We're bringing it up this morning. We have the right people here who are listening. And I'm hoping that we can develop some kind of action plan if we don't already have one in place with our emergency management folks, with our emergency services folks. I can offer the example of Poudre Valley Mobile Home Park, which is in the growth management area. It's in the county. There's only one way in and out. And so I think that's something we need to be thinking about is how do we help folks develop evacuation plans and how do we make sure they sign up for NOCO alert as well as have access to our emergency preparedness guides that OEM has provided and all of that. So I'm glad the conversation has come up and I'm confident that the right folks will get together and we'll continue to partner with, the folks in these communities because we're seeing more and more grass fires, vegetation fires. They're closer to urban areas. We have the experience of Marshall Fire, and there are 33, I believe there are 33 mobile home parks in the unincorporated parts of the county, and I think a total of 44 mobile home parks that include in the various municipalities. So that's what I have to add to the conversation. I'm glad that the right folks are here. We'll now move on in our agenda. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes. Guess what, Commissioner Stevens? You get to do all the motions this morning.
Sounds fun. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the minutes for the week of April 27th, 2026.
That is indeed a proper motion. Any comments, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Let's see. Upcoming schedule review. what kinds of exciting things are we supposed to be up to next week?
Well, good morning, Commissioners.
Thanks,
So
Brenda.
on Monday, May 11th at 9 a.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual temporary assistance for needy families performance contract office hours session. At 10 a.m., you have a budget retreat in the Arrowhead Lake Conference Room on the 4th floor. At 12 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Forest Health Council Leveraging Resources Committee meeting. At 1:30 p.m., you have a work session with Leslie Ellis, the Director of Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources. That's in the Commissioner's Conference Room on the 2nd floor. At 3 p.m., you have the land use items with the Development Review Team. That'll be hybrid. It'll be in the hearing room and virtually via Zoom. On Tuesday, May 12th at 9 a.m., you have the Administrative Matters meeting. That's this meeting here in this room. At 1:30 p.m., you have administrative direction to county management. That's in the Sprague Lake Conference Room on the 2nd floor. At 6 p.m., Commissioner Kafalos will attend the Environmental and Science Advisory Board meeting. It's also hybrid, but the in-person is in Carter Lake Conference Room, 1st floor. 6 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will attend the Loveland Urban Renewal Authority Board meeting at the Loveland City Council Chambers at 500 East 3rd Street in Loveland. On Wednesday, May 13th at 8 a.m., Commissioner Kafalos will attend the Workforce Development Board meeting. That's hybrid as well, but the in-person is here in the hearing room, 1st floor. At 12 o'clock p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual National Association of Counties Environment, Energy, and Land Use meeting. At 1 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Regional Opioid Abatement Council Learning Forum meeting. At 1 p.m., Commissioner Kafalos will attend the Ag Advisory Board meeting. That's also hybrid, but the in-person is at the Larimer County Extension Office, 1525 Blue Spruce. Thursday, May 14th at 7:30 a.m., Commissioner Stevens may attend the Fort Collins Downtown Development Authority Board meeting at the Innosphere Ventures at 320 Vine Street here in Fort Collins. At 1 p.m., Commissioners may attend the Older Americans Month Award Ceremony, and that's at the Larimer County Loveland Campus, 200 Peridot Avenue in Loveland. 2:30 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Office on Aging Advisory Council meeting. That's hybrid, but the in-person is at the Loveland Campus again, 200 Peridot Avenue. 4 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Fort Collins Urban Renewal Authority Finance Committee meeting. At 4 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Health District Open House event. That's at 120 Bristlecone Drive here in Fort Collins. At 5:30 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally and the Estes Park Mayor Gary Hall will host a May Mental Health Month event titled The Healing Power of Nature in Estes Valley, and that's at the Estes Park Town Hall, 170 McGregor Avenue in Estes Park. Friday, May 15th, you do have an open schedule. Saturday, May 16th at 8:30 a.m., Commissioner Kafalos and Shattuck McNally will attend the opening of the Larimer County Farmers Market here at 200 West Oak here in Fort Collins. 9:30 a.m., Commissioner Kafalos will host the story time at the Larimer County Farmers Market, same location. 9:30 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will host a May Mental Health Month panel, which they will discuss hiking for health and the surprising ways it can improve your mental health with author Beck Jensen at the Love Shack, 120 East 4th Street in Loveland. At 11 a.m., Commissioner Kafalos and Shattuck McNally may attend the Loveland Fire Rescue Authority Community Wildfire Education Day event at Fire Station 7, 2629 North County Road 27 in Loveland. That's all we have for next week.
Great. Thank you very much, Brenda. Commissioner Stevens, do you have any adjustments, feedback?
I'll just have one adjustment. On Friday, May 15th, I don't have an open schedule because we're holding a couple air quality town halls, and the first of which will be on Friday, May 15th from 11:30 to 12:30, and that is a virtual, and that's held with the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization. We are doing some air quality town halls in advance of our air quality conference that we're having in October.
Great. Thank you. I just have a couple of adjustments. Starting on Wednesday, May 13th, at 10:45 a.m., 10:45 to 11:30, I will be speaking with the Water Literate Leaders class. Also at 12:30 on that day, 12:30 to 1:30, I will be at Dunn Elementary School, the IB World School. There's a group of 5 students that I worked with on a topic. They're all going to be presenting their projects, so I'd like to be there to cheer them on. On Thursday, May 14th, I will be doing the new employee orientation at 9:45 a.m., 9:45 to 10:15, I believe. And then also on that day, I may attend the Health District open house. Great, thanks a lot. Okay, moving right along. We have the consent agenda next on the as order of business. Folks know that these are typically routine items, non-controversial, administrative in nature. We do actually do things here that are non-controversial sometimes, and they could include abatements, agreements, stipulations, all sorts of things, liquor licenses, and other matters previously reviewed by the board. And all of this information is available online if folks are interested. So my task is to go through the consent agenda in a way that piques people's interest and also moves us right along. So the first category on the consent agenda is agreements, and we will be pulling the first agreement. Commissioner Stevens will do that when we offer the motion. The remaining agreements include a construction services agreement, gravel parking lot site preparation project. This is out at the ranch, and it's between the commissioners and a construction company, Crossland Construction Company. The total dollar amount is just under $500,000. This is site preparation, installation of base course to develop a gravel parking lot at Arena Circle out there. The next agreement is an amendment to the development agreement for the Monte subdivision, file number 20-land 4018. We had this in our recent land use hearing. We had the discussion, and basically this is just an adjustment to the development agreement. The next item is conveyance of permanent slope easement. You get the idea why we typically don't have deep discussions about these things, although our planners and engineers like these kinds of things. This one is conveyance of permanent slope easement. It has to do with, this is County Road 43. It's a perpetual easement. There is a dollar amount involved between the property owner and the county. That dollar amount is $2,800. Moving right along under agreements, a development agreement for Box Elder Townhomes Planned Land Division, file number 23-land 4348. Again, this is an item that we heard in recent land use hearing, and this is just finalizing that process. This is between the county and the landowners. The next item is State of Colorado Colorado Contract Modification Contract Amendment Number 2. This is with Human Services. It's to manage the in-reach counseling for the contractor's assigned region between the County Office on Aging and the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing, which primarily oversees the Medicaid program and home and community-based services. The dollar amount here is approximately $133,000. Next item is a change order A1A AIA document G701-2017. This has to do with the solid waste department, specifically the diversion and transfer station project. There's a change order and adjustment to the overall contract. This is adding the overall contract for the construction of the diversion and transfer station is about $20 million. This adds an additional approximately $191,000. The next item under agreements is also a change order. This is number 5, AIA document G701-2017, solid waste. And again, this relates to the diversion and transfer station. The increase in the dollar amount is approximately $328,000. Moving on to appointments, we have recommended reappointment to the Environmental and Science Advisory Board, and that's Chris Wood, who will serve another term on that board. We also have under appointments recommended rescinded appointments for the Natural Resources Advisory Board, Adam Croson and Jeannie Mounts. Those folks will be leaving that Natural Resources Advisory Board. We move on to deeds. Excuse me, take a breath here. We have a deed of dedication. This is from our land agent engineering department. Deed of dedication, right-of-way, for right-of-way purposes, Wellington Operating Company is the owner of the property, the land, and this has to do with our County Road 70, Al Canyon Road, road improvements. This is in perpetuity between the county and this landowner. Miscellaneous, we have, one, two, three, four, five stipulations with the which are agreements worked out with the assessor's office regarding property taxes that are owed based on assessed value. Then we have a request for approval to enter upon lands, Department of Natural Resources, weed mitigation. We have a grant of utility easement, engineering department, a perpetual non-exclusive utility easement on land owned by the county out at the ranch. This is with the city of Loveland, construction and maintenance of electric utility infrastructure associated with the ranch master plan phase 2. This has to do with the central lawn improvements. If you've been out there, you know things are changing quite dramatically. Almost there, folks. Let's see. Then we have Larimer County legislative positions. So we go through this process, we have discussion, and then we take positions on various bills in the legislature. I think there are perhaps 8 days left in the legislative session. Woohoo. It's been an interesting session, as it always is. So we have that, and so we adopt our official positions on 2 bills, and we have reviewed these, and that's that. I've already discussed about the stipulations. And that's it. So, Commissioner Stevens, is there anything you wish to pull off of the consent agenda? And if so, please inform us and then offer the proper motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did we, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Were we going to pull one of the agreements? I don't, the first agreement, okay.
This one has to do with, well, you can share the information.
Oh, the administrative services agreement with Human Resources. So that will be pulled and discussed on a different day. Is that correct?
That is correct. One of the attachments is not accurate, and so we'll update it and bring it back.
Okay. So beyond that, I have nothing else to pull.
Okay, thank you. Then please offer the motion that it mentions the reference to pulling this off.
I will, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the consent agenda for May 5th, 2026, removing the first agreement, which is the administrative services agreement, which will be discussed at a later date.
Excellent, thank you. Any further discussion, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that passes 2-0. We have just approved the consent agenda. Moving on, we don't have any commissioner guests. We can move on to our first discussion item, and that is a proclamation recognizing May 2026 as Amyotrophic Lateral Sclerosis Awareness, ALS Month. And we do have someone here who brought this matter to our attention. And the way we'll do this, Susan, is we'll invite you up. Please introduce yourself and share your comments, your thoughts, why this is important. And then I'll ask Commissioner Stevens to read the proclamation, put the motion on the table, and then we can offer some comments if we'd like. and then I believe we need to take a picture. So hopefully you brought your phone, so you can take a picture with the proclamation. So with that, Susan, please welcome. And I need to find the proclamation.
Well, good morning. I hope I'm able to talk. I'm getting over a cold, but I think I can get through it. Anyway, my name is Susan Malone. I live in Timnath, and pardon me, I am here in support of this proclamation for ALS. I don't know if any of you here have had any experience with this from a family member or a friend. Anybody? I'm guessing. I'm guessing not. So many people know very little about it, or they've heard of it, called Lou Gehrig's disease. So when our son was diagnosed with it, with ALS about 2 years ago, we didn't really know what was involved. So we had to read about it, and we'd heard of Lou Gehrig's disease. But what it is, for those who don't know, it is a neurodegenerative disease that has to be one of the very worst things I think a person could ever get. It is progressive and it is fatal. Right now, they don't know exactly what causes it, but they're doing research constantly. We need to do more because it really just steals your life a little bit at a time. It's neurodegenerative, starts off with maybe nerves in your hands not working well, or you're stumbling because the nerves start to malfunction in your feet or your legs. And it's just very sad. It's very sad to see. And the life expectancy is about 2 to 5 years on average. Our son lived 18 months. He passed away last July. And, it might have been a blessing. It might have been the hand of the Lord there, because it was so bad. He got so he couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, he couldn't eat. He had to have a tube going into his stomach to be able to eat. And he was a big guy, so obviously couldn't get enough calories to sustain him. What they do know is that for some reason, there's a higher percent of people in the military who get ALS. So that's another reason we need to draw attention to this terrible disease, because of the numbers in our military who are affected. Right now, there's about 30,000 nationwide, 30,000 cases, and in Colorado, about 500 or more. So, I would just like to, as a family member, say I'm glad that we're drawing attention to ALS. I hope that something can be done. I hope that there is more progress to find out what can be done to make life more livable while people live with this, or eventually just to completely eradicate the disease. So I just wanted to thank you for bringing this up, and I guess that's about all else I can say. It's just pretty tough, because what happens is, as the nerves die off one at a time, and I'll just tell you, it would have been a little over a year ago. Our family was out to dinner, and Colin, our son, said, "Hey, I want to show you guys something that's really weird." He held up his arm, pulled up his shirt, and you could just see it was like something under his skin just kind of jumping around. And it was really odd. He said, "I'm going to get this checked out. I don't know what's going on. And I've been feeling kind of tired." So what happened was, what was going on under his skin in his arm was the nerves. That's what happens when the nerves die. And the nerves, of course, we know operate our muscles. So you can see what happens with this. It just gradually, the nerves die off, and then they don't operate the muscle anymore. Eventually, that affects speech. certainly your digestion, until eventually nothing works, and you can't breathe anymore. So it's it's a pretty tough thing, and I am glad that we are drawing attention to this. So I guess that's all
Thank
the
you, Susan.
questions.
Thank you very much. And
Yes.
before you go,
Yeah.
Commissioner Stevens, any questions for Susan
Yeah.
Malone?
I don't think I have any questions, but I really appreciate you being here, Susan,
Okay,
to
sure.
share that. Yeah.
And
Okay.
I have a
Thanks.
quick question
Yeah,
before
sure.
you sit back down there, and then we'll read the proclamation. And you may have mentioned this, but I may have missed it. Typically, when is the onset? At what age is the onset of ALS? When does it affect people?
I think probably in 40% of the cases it is over 60. I understand, but there's many who are young, and I've known of several cases since our son, who was only 46 at diagnosis and super healthy. He was in martial arts and just in A1 condition.
Thank you. And is there any research that tries to explain the correlation between veterans and perhaps a higher incidence of ALS?
Well, I'm sure they're working on it, but it's interesting that as a demographic, we've got a group of people where there is more of this. They're wondering about exposure to heavy metals. That's one of the things, and they're constantly looking. There's clinical trials that, in fact, our son participated in. He actually, I will say this, he got worse after he was on the clinical trial. So whatever was in that may or may not have affected him. The course of his illness might have progressed as it was anyway. But I think there's more attention being paid to this now, but any opportunity you have to support this is good. So
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you for the opportunity to bring this up.
Commissioner.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Stevens, please.
Yeah, Susan, can you remind us of your son's name? I'm sorry.
Yes, Colin
Colin.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Colin Malone. Yeah.
Just wanted to honor him
Sure.
because I know
Well,
you're here.
thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. And let me add too, this is very hard on families. In his case, he's got, wife, 2 children. He worked for Airbnb. He was an executive with them, and he just got so he couldn't do his work. There's some durable equipment that helps the voice enhancement, but after a while, the machine can't understand the person, but also for the family, just seeing just almost week to week changes that are always degenerative. They're always tough. It's very hard on families. And I can imagine people who might have trouble, being able to purchase or get equipment like walkers or the machines that help with the voice so they can be understood better. These are things, I don't know what families do that don't have insurance or who can't afford to get these. This is another issue. It's big for the families. So,
Thank you very much.
okay, thank you.
So at this time, Commissioner Stevens, would you please read the proclamation?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So this is to honor May of 2026 as amyotrophic, is that how you say that? Amyotrophic Lateral Sclerosis Awareness Month. Whereas amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive, fatal neurodegenerative disease in which a person's brain loses connection with their muscles, slowly reducing a person's ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And whereas an estimated 30,000 people are living with ALS nationally, and estimates show that every 90 minutes someone is diagnosed with ALS and someone passes away from ALS. And whereas an estimated 500 people are living with ALS in Colorado, and on average patients diagnosed with ALS survive only 2 to 5 years from the time of diagnosis. And whereas the exact causes of ALS are unknown, and there is no cure for ALS. And whereas people who have served in the military are more likely to develop ALS and die from the disease than those with no history of military service. And whereas securing access to new therapies, durable medical equipment, and communication technologies is of vital importance to people living with ALS. And whereas clinical trials play a pivotal role in evaluating new treatments, enhancing quality of life, and fostering assistive technologies for those living with ALS. And whereas the ALS Association is committed to make ALS livable and cure it for everyone, everywhere. Whereas Amyotrophic Lateral Sclerosis Awareness Month provides an opportunity to increase public awareness of the dire circumstances of people living with ALS, acknowledge the terrible impact this disease has on those individuals and their families, and support research to eradicate this disease. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Larimer County Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as ALS Awareness Month. We ask everyone to join in supporting ALS research, advocating for increased funding, and standing in solidarity with those affected by this relentless disease.
Great. Thanks, Commissioner. Would you please offer the motion?
Yes,
And then we'll
Miss-
offer comments.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the proclamation declaring May 2026 as Amyotrophic Lateral Sclerosis Awareness Month.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Stevens, any additional comments, reflections you'd like to offer before we vote on the proclamation?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Susan, just thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your bravery and courage in coming here because I'm a mom too, and I know I can't imagine how hard that is to watch your child suffer. So the courage you showed and then coming forward to make sure that people in our community understand what ALS is and how it affects families and the struggles with regard to, financing and, some of the technology that you need to live with ALS. It just really inspired by the way that you've approached this and that you came to us with this proclamation. I think that you, by doing so, you're really helping build understanding and education and letting our community know about this. And so that's hard to do in a moment of grief, to really reach out from beyond yourself and try to help other people. So just want to know that I admire you very much for doing that, and just want to honor your son, Colin Malone, who passed from this really disease that, like you said, is just almost unimaginably cruel in the way that it attacks young people in their prime of life. And so I certainly, we will do what we can, and we can put you in touch with federal legislators that, may have more say in getting more funding for this, because we have seen, while it's never affected me, certainly seen some people that are, in the news that have had this and have struggled with this, and have read stories about this. And so, happy to help you in your journey to build that awareness and education. But thank you very much for being here today, and thank you for proposing the proclamation.
Thank you. I echo the comments made by my colleague, amplify them. I think that I'm very grateful that you are an engaged citizen. It takes a certain amount of courage to, reach out and say we need to do a proclamation. We discussed it, and it made a lot of sense. I believe you've accomplished your mission. I'm sure it's multiple purposes, but to raise awareness about it, I've learned some things today about the disease. I always knew it as Lou Gehrig's disease, but I didn't understand some of the physiology of it. And I do hope that there can be more research and to try to understand what the underlying causes that make the brain not connect with the muscles, and create all that distress and ultimately demise of the individual. So thank you very much, Susan. Let's see. We have a motion before us. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. May is proclaimed in Larimer County as ALS month, Awareness Month, and we'll pause the broadcast for a moment to take a picture. We have a couple of extra proclamations, and then we'll move on to our next one, and then we'll move on to our sheriff's office. Okay, we're back, and we'll move on to the second proclamation. This is a proclamation presented to us by our Larimer County Office on Aging, which is part of the Department of Human Services, and this is a proclamation to designate May as Older Americans Month to recognize older adults. Older adults and all the contributions, and reaffirm our commitment to supporting their health and their independence. So, folks from the office, do you want to come on up and present? And we'll follow the same protocol process that we did a moment ago. And there's a good connection between what we just heard and honoring older Americans. So, thank you. Hi, Nicole. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Good morning. My name is Erin Alt. I am the Program Manager for the Larimer County Office on Aging. I am joined here this morning today by Jonathan Anderson, the Division Manager of Human Services Operations and Organization Division, and by Katie Stieber, our Deputy Division Manager. As we come together to commemorate May as Older Americans Month, we align ourselves with a national movement led by the Administration for Community Living. This year's theme is Champion Your Health. It is a powerful call to action. It focuses on prevention, wellness, and personal responsibility as the absolute cornerstones of healthy aging. While in past years I have spoken of the ties that bind us, this year I highlight the strength it takes to be an active participant in one's own well-being. It is about empowering older adults and caregivers to take the lead, advocating for themselves, their loved ones, accessing preventative care, planning for the future, and making the informed decisions that sustain independence. Our older population is a treasure trove of knowledge and resilience. Their dedication has paved the way for our present, and it is our responsibility to ensure their future is one of vitality. In a landscape where healthcare and planning for long-term services and supports can feel complex, it is crucial that we foster health literacy, ensuring our older neighbors feel valued, heard, and supported in their decisions. In Larimer County, we don't just talk about wellness, we see it in action. An example of this is our upcoming Older American Month Awards, being presented in collaboration with the Office on Aging, our Advisory Council, and our honorable commissioners. Our outstanding family caregiver reminds us that caregiving is a marathon, not a sprint. To champion one's health in this role is an act of profound responsibility. It means prioritizing self-care, recognizing that to provide the best care for a loved one, a caregiver must first sustain their own physical and mental well-being. Advocating for support, having the strength to seek out resources and navigate complex systems to ensure a healthy environment for the entire family. Emotional fortitude, maintaining the mental wellness necessary to meet daily challenges with both compassion and grace. Our outstanding senior volunteer shows us that health is often fueled by purpose. Research consistently shows that staying active and socially engaged is one of the best forms of preventative medicine. By giving back to Larimer County, our senior volunteers are practicing prevention through activity, staying physically and mentally sharp by staying involved and on the move, fostering mental wellness, combating isolation through meaningful social contribution and lifelong learning, and finally, leading by example, showing our community that personal responsibility for one's own health allows us to remain pillars of strength and service well into our later years. Whether it's through a caregiver's dedication or a volunteer's tireless spirit, these examples prove that championing health is the foundation of a life well lived. Their stories give us a roadmap for how we can take action and an active role in our own health journeys. By celebrating these successes, we continue to build a Larimer County that doesn't just honor the past, but actively invests in a future where every individual, regardless of age, has the tools and the support to be a champion of their own health. I want to thank all the older Americans who continue to inspire us with your vitality and your stories. May this month be a celebration of the strength and responsibility that allows us all to age with dignity and purpose. And as always, Commissioners Kafalis and Stevens, we appreciate your time, your proclamation, and your unwavering commitment to the older adults of Larimer County. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Erin. Well done. Uh, Commissioner Stevens, do you have any questions for Erin Holt?
I don't think I have. Can you remind us when we're honoring those awardees, though?
That would
Next
be
week?
next Thursday, May
Thursday.
14th.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I have any further questions.
Can you say a little bit about the changing demographic in the county? Uh, there are more of us that are 65 and older, 60 and older, and what the implications are of that, and how our Office on Aging is, and our Human Services Department is doing our best to support people and all of that.
Absolutely. The demographers' data has really shown across the Front Range that the older adults are on the rise for many years. I don't have exact statistics, but we are among one of the leading counties. I know Weld is growing at a little bit more of a rapid rate than us, but the Front Range and Larimer County specifically is such a beautiful place to live and to age that it has been, a lot of folks come to school here or their children do. And so we definitely, the Office on Aging, are on the pulse of the demographic of older adults and doing our best really to advocate for resources and services, because ultimately our goal is to help folks, age in place with dignity in their home or their communities of choice.
Thank you. I have one more question, and then I don't know if your colleagues wish to say a word or two. They might be a little bit shy this morning, but I wonder if you could say a little bit briefly about I think one of the services we provide through the Office on Aging is the Family Caregiver Support Program, and we are seeing more and more that family members are having to care for loved ones. And also, we are seeing that at the state level with the budget cuts, reimbursement for folks who are getting Medicaid dollars to care for loved ones, that's being reduced, and that's going to have grave impacts on people. I was having conversations about folks that are impacted by that. Can you speak to our family caregiver support program, please?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for any opportunity I get to brag on our staff. We are fortunate here at our area agency on aging to have 2 full-time staff that make up our family caregiver support team. Not all AAAs across the state are that lucky or fortunate, and we have a lot of programs that we offer powerful tools for caregiving classes, really stress busting, focusing on the caregivers. We know that so many times as a family caregiver, most are unpaid, and you're caring for that loved one, and it's easy to put yourself on the back burner. And so our programs really focus on the caregiver themselves. And reminding them self-care. We do have a respite voucher that can actually pay for respite, pay for a break for those caregivers. And again, nationally and locally, many caregivers are having to quit their jobs and care for their loved one. And like you said, there are some programs that can help support that, but in many families, it's the financial burden as well.
Thank you, Erin.
Of course.
Anything come to mind question-wise on your end, Commissioner?
Just that for the resources that we're talking about, that people can access that on the website, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Larimer.gov/seniors.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't see your colleagues jumping up to speak. Therefore, I'm going to presume that they're in listening mode this morning, which is a good mode to be in. And at this time, I would respectfully ask my colleague, Commissioner Stevens, to read the proclamation.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is for Older Americans Month in May of 2026. Whereas May is designated as Older Americans Month, a vital time to honor the older adults of Larimer County whose wisdom and leadership shape the very fabric of our community. And whereas through a lifetime of experience, our older adults serve as essential mentors, passing down the cultural heritage and historical insights that guide our younger generations. And whereas our county is strengthened by the active participation of older adults in civic life, volunteerism, and the meaningful intergenerational bonds they forge. And whereas we recognize that a community truly thrives only when residents of all ages and abilities possess the resources to live independently and participate fully in public life. And whereas Larimer County remains steadfast in its commitment to inclusivity, ensuring our older residents have the support systems necessary to stay connected and engaged. Now, therefore, we of Larimer County do hereby proclaim May 2026 as Older Americans Month. We urge all residents to celebrate the invaluable contributions of our older adults and to support the programs and initiatives that foster a more connected, inclusive, and supportive environment for every member of our community.
Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner. Please offer the motion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the proclamation declaring May 2026 as Older Americans Month.
That's a lovely motion. Thank you. At this time, do you have any comments you'd like to offer these fine folks?
Yeah, thank you, Aaron and Jonathan and Katie, for being here. We really appreciate you coming forward with a proclamation and to talk about, what older Americans do for our community. And I am recently become a caregiver for my mother, which is it is challenging. And so I do understand that while that is both a gift and a challenge in my life. And so really encourage people to access those resources and to take care of yourself, because I've realized that is important for me to do. But just, the role that older adults play in our community is so vital, and we can learn so much from folks about not just the historical insights that we talked about in the proclamation, but really, how to live a good life and how to just, honor tradition and to, hear those good stories. And it has, I think of my mom and some of the older people in my life of, just what I've gained from them with regard to kind of understanding, how to live a good life is. And then of course, we have so many older Americans that are still working in our community, still volunteering in our community. I mean, if you go into our voting centers, you will find a lot of older Americans that are really very civically engaged in, a lot of processes in our community. And so we're just so grateful. And this is a really good reminder for us to honor folks and have that patience and ask those questions and hear those stories. You only get so many years to be able to do that. And so just encourage people to take that time with the older Americans in your lives and really fully celebrate them. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Well said. I'll just echo, of course, what has just been stated. I'll add a few additional comments. And I do want to do a bit of a shout out for Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally. In the proclamation and in your comments, some of the themes or the words that are really critical takeaways for me. One is, of course, dignity, respect, independence. And then I think in the proclamation it talks about intergenerational. And we know that one of the things that the research is showing that older folks, loneliness is a big issue, and that relates to mental health and other kinds of behavioral health issues. So however we can help people overcome isolation and those kinds of things is really important. And having opportunities for intergenerational engagement are critical. And younger folks with older folks, that it's a wonderful match made in heaven, I think. And along those lines, I do want to offer a bit of a shout out for Commissioner Shattuck McNally. I think she and her daughter helped establish some convening of intergenerational activity, and it continues to this day. I think there was something a month or so ago where folks come together at the Compass School or something here in Fort Collins. So I want to do a shout out there, and of course, she serves as our liaison to whatever the current iteration is of the Aging Advisory Council, and she's been a longtime champion of these issues, and so I just wanted to offer that shout out. With that said, let's see. Did you do the proclamation? Okay, then let's vote. Proclamation before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Guess what? Picture time.
Now you go.
Okay, thank you all very much. We have completed two proclamations really important to raise awareness and to honor those, our neighbors. Um, the next item on our discussion agenda is a proclamation having to do with potentially extending fire restrictions as it relates to our drought conditions and weather conditions and all the rest. Oh,
Uh,
may I
Mr. Chair, it looks like we're having some technology issues, so we may want to wait just a minute.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're back on the air and we'll fix those technology issues and then we'll proceed. And it's good to pause now and then.
Can I just do it off my phone? Can I do it off my phone? Hmm. Well, that's fine.
Should we go off the air for a minute?
Do you want to go back off air?
Hey, Justine.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to figure out some technology issues. May we come off the air for a minute or two?
Sure thing.
Thank you kindly. Okay, we're back, and apologies to the public. We had a bit of a delay trying to address some technology issues. We are ready to go. Sir, would you be kind enough to introduce yourself and begin your presentation?
Yeah, good morning. Justin Weitzel, the Chief of Emergency Services for Larimer County Sheriff's Office. Today I'm here to talk about fire restrictions, which seems a little bit odd with the amount of moisture that we have received and will receive through the day. Hopefully, my presentation gives you a little bit of guidance on why we're still coming forward with our suggestion. So, Tom, are you helping me out? Perfect. So this is just kind of a sequence of our discussion, just walking through what we're recommending, giving you some of the data and analytics behind where we're looking, and then talking about current conditions and future conditions, and then review the date, and then we'll have the discussion at the end. So we'll go ahead and jump into it and show you what we got here. So obviously, currently, Larimer County is in fire restrictions, which restricts several of the items that are in the resolution. We're coming back today. The sheriff's obviously out of town and apologizes for not being here. But the plan is to go into more of a fire ban, is what we would consider it. Some counties call it stage 2. We try and stay away from that because I get really confused on what stage 1 and stage 2 is, but we just stick with fire restrictions and fire ban. So next slide. So if we look at the dashboard that I've given the sheriff access to and command staff, when we start looking at the metrics, and this is obviously from last week, not today, because we are getting a significant amount of moisture. But when we look at the metrics over the last few weeks, what we see, and this is above 9,000 feet, so closer to the Continental Divide on the western portion of Larimer County, the slide that we're looking at now, you still see that the 1,000-hour fuel moistures, which is anything larger than 4 inches, is still relatively low. For this time of year, 18%. It should be much higher than that, especially coming out of a winter. It should be closer to the 20 to 30%. So that's concerning. And then obviously the grass hasn't started to green up quite yet. And we're still seeing a lot of that significant drought conditions that we'll jump into here in a little bit. But that's above 9,000 feet. This still does say 93% snow cover. Again, that was last week and not 100% accurate, but it's taken data from several different weather stations and SNOTEL sites. That should change through today and give us a little bit more moisture. We'll see. Next slide, please. The next one is looking at 6,000 to 9,000 feet. So when we talk about 6,000 to 9,000 feet, Red Feather Lakes area, Estes Valley, those kind of areas that we're talking about. Again, you see the 1,000-hour fuel moistures were significantly low. Again, those probably should be between 15 to 20%, maybe even a little bit higher, depending on the snow year we've gotten. The 100-hour fuel moistures are still really low for this time of year, so that's concerning as well. There was 8% snow cover, which recently changed to 0 in the last couple of days. But again, we are getting a good amount of rain and snow today, and we'll talk about kind of what the future looks like with that as well. And then again, the grass hasn't started to green up at those higher altitudes just because of the cold evenings and not a lot of moisture, but that may change as well. So next slide, please. This is anything below 6,000, Fort Collins, Loveland, kind of where the majority of the population lives. And if you look at the trend, the 14-day past trend, so that was, I think the sheriff pulled this from last week, but that was looking at the 2 weeks prior to last week. We hit up in the very high several times with the fire danger score. So the last few weeks prior to this event, this weather event, we had been significantly dry below 6,000 feet. The grass has not greened up yet. It's starting to change. We do see a lot of the thatch from last year, the brown thatch, in with the green grass, which is concerning just because the fire will still carry through the grass, which typically this time of year it would not, because it would just be green grass. But because there's still a lot of grass left over from last year, that's going to be problematic. The 1,000 hours are extremely low for this time of year, and again, it takes 1,000 hours of moisture to change that number, time lag. So 10.6% is extremely low for this time of year, and to have that change significantly would take 1,000 hours of moisture, which is not predicted anytime soon. And then the 100 hours and the 10 hours are also pretty low for this time of year. And then the KBDI, which I'll talk about the drought index here quite a bit more here in a second. So next slide, please. As you, and again, the sheriff took this picture last week, which is just kind of funny. I was out of town last week when you guys had the previous moisture, which wasn't significant, but a little bit of moisture last week. A significant storm, or what they're calling a significant storm today, is when we look out the window, some people may question why we're talking about fire ban right now. And while there is moisture, it's not anything significant or that's going to pull us out of the drought or offset fire danger for any extended period of time. It's going to be a short-lived relief that we'll see, and I'll talk about that. And some of it is no different than when you go running or hiking, that if you get dehydrated and come back home, if you hit the button again, I think there's a pop-up, Tom. Yep. So if you come back home from hiking or running, you take a shower while you feel better, you haven't gained any hydration back, and the ground is very similar to that. The vegetation is very similar. It takes more than just a quick shower to provide any relief. Next slide or next. So in order to rehydrate ourselves after a long hike, a long run, you have to drink quite a bit of water. And the same thing with fire danger. It takes a significant number of significant events to change what we're seeing on the ground, which we're not going to see, which I'll jump into here now. Next slide. And as you all are well aware, and I was gone for every single one of these down in Australia, so I apologize that I missed every fire that you all had. But the county has experienced numerous fires, and I would consider these significant, right? 70 acres for this time of year is a significant fire. Even a 3.5 acre fire that was alluded to near a trailer park area, the 3.5 acre Cougar Run fire, could have been catastrophic if we weren't able to get resources to it quickly. So that one was significant just because of the location and the resources that were around. And then the Ponds fire at the base of Horsetooth a couple weeks ago, that was 9 acres. And we were fortunate on that one again that the winds kind of shifted. And also we had a road and a ditch that kind of helped with containment on one edge of the fire. But without those, that fire could have been similar. And I don't want to say it would have been a Marshall fire, but it could have been similar to a Marshall fire without the significant winds. It had time to grow and area to grow. So it could have been way bigger than 9 acres. Again, resources were able to get on all these fires quickly and suppress it. So we're very fortunate for that. But that can change as things dry out more. So, and then in addition to these 3 significant fires, we've had multiple fires throughout the weeks that were less than an acre. And so we don't necessarily track all of those, but the fire departments have been responding on a lot of less than an acre along the highways and roadways from tire chains and the metal from tires and things like that. So next slide, please. And so when we start talking about the weather and kind of the outlook, right, this is where I'm going. Today it's wet. It'll continue to be wet through tomorrow. But talking to the National Weather Service, it looks like This will be a short-lived event, and then this weekend it should be back up in the 70s, and while we will see periodic small bouts of rain next week, it won't continue for any length of time, and then after next week, they do not see any significant moisture in the forecast for several months, which I'll get into again. So even with the monsoons, the models aren't, there's a couple different views of the models, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. But the average temperature has been the highest in history, recorded history, obviously, for Larimer County, almost 4 degrees above what the temperatures have been previously on bad years. So the last 90 days, beginning of 2026, has been very hot and dry for Larimer County, and we've experienced more red flag warnings just in a few months, the 4 months, than we have in any other year previous. That's total year too, not just the first 4 months. So next slide, please. And then, as you all have probably heard and aware of, the snow tell, the amount of snow up in high country, especially above 9,000 feet, and which isn't always a huge driver for high fire danger. Obviously, snow above 9,000 feet, we don't get many fires above 9,000 feet typically. Cameron Peak obviously was one of those that did start above 9,000 feet. But when we do see significant drought above 9,000 feet, that's usually a good indicator that it's going to be a busy year. And as we look at the snow-tell stations, they are the lowest they've ever been in recorded history, majority of them. One in Larimer County, the orange one, up towards the top of the slide there. That's the only one, that, and it's the second lowest. So again, not great records that we want to be setting. They're kind of the opposite direction of records that we want to be setting. And we are getting, again, some snow, some moisture above 6,000 feet that is contributing to the snow-tell sites, but not significant enough to change a lot. I think the lower North Fork, if you look at which comes out of the northern part of Larimer County into the Poudre River, it was zero. It had zeroed out, but we'll get a little bit more moisture in there today, but not anything to change that. So it's already peaked, and all the snow melt's gone. Most of the other sites are running 16 to 13% of normal for this time of year, which is not good. Next slide, please. And then these are the Cache La Poudre snow-tell site. And again, that black line is where we currently sat when the sheriff pulled these last week on April 22nd. You will see a little bit of a bump in the Cache La Poudre chart now. That black line actually reaches the red line before it hits the bottom of the page. So the snow is not the lowest snow that we've ever seen, but we're right in line with the lowest snow that we've ever seen for this time of year. And as you see, when he pulled it last week, it was 19%. I think when I looked today, it was 16% of normal. So next slide, which is the Big Thompson. Again, this one's showing a little bit higher, 29%, but when I looked this morning, it was 19%. And again, that black line's bumped a little bit closer to that red line, and the red line is the lowest it's ever been in recorded history previous to this year. And then that green line is where the average or the mean is, and where for recorded history since 1991 there with that one. So obviously the Big Thompson's lacking the moisture as well. Next slide, please. And as I talked about, the drought, and this is one of those significant indicators for fire danger. This tells us how much moisture's in the soil to help, one, not only slow the fire spread, but when we have to mop it up after the fire's been contained, firefighters use the tools to dig up the dirt, and it's kind of like gardening, but we mix up the dirt with the embers and the coals. And if there's no moisture in there, it makes our job that much harder and prolongs how long we have to be there. And when you look at extended drought, so March of 2025, we did have some drought throughout Larimer County. And I believe we were here last year in March of 2025 talking about fire danger. But now when you look at March of 2026, there's exceptional drought in majority of the western part of Larimer County, and then extreme drought in all of Larimer County for the rest of it, which is concerning to say the least. Especially when we get these little bouts of moisture, that'll subside fire danger for about a week to 2 weeks, and then we'll be right back into it with hot and dry, windy conditions. Next slide, please. So when we start talking about what is the future hold for the weather and the fire danger, when we start talking about these particular slides here, this is May through July for both. The left one is for the temperatures, the right side, the precipitation. So as you can see, majority of Colorado is supposed to be well above normal temperatures, and then the precip is below, especially up in northern Colorado, which is concerning as well. Next slide. And then, so that's July, that's actually, yeah, July, August, oh, this is July, August, September. Sorry, next slide already happened. So thanks, Tom. But continue well above normal temperatures. And then this is saying, and this is what I was talking about, talking to the meteorologist at the National Weather Service, while monsoon moisture typically comes in at the end of July, and we see that a lot of times we see where we get the we get monsoons, but we don't get the moisture with it. What they're tracking right now is they're thinking that there's potential that the moisture may not make it this far north. As you can see, that green goes up into the southern Wyoming a little bit. They think that might track a little bit further south, and are thinking while we will get monsoons, it may not be enough to provide any moisture, but it'll be enough to provide dry lightning. And if we get that, that'll be difficult to deal with multiple fire starts. So that could be problematic as we look beyond 90 days. Next slide, please. And so the other things we look at when we're talking about fire danger is the predictive services. They put out where they think large fire potential outlook is, and anything in red is where they believe there's going to be large fire potential. So the top left slide, that's April, and then the below that's May, and then it jumps back over to June, and then July on the bottom right there. So when we start talking about June and July, both of those slides contain Larimer County in those for large fire potential, and then May is showing not anything for large fire potential. And I just want to be clear, when we talk about large fire potential, this isn't saying that we're not going to have fires. So that bottom left one where it shows no red in Colorado, it's not saying we're not going to have fires. It's saying the potential for large fires, anything over, and it depends on metrics, but our area is anything over 3 acres, because when we start getting over 3 acres for large fire potential on this graphic, we don't have enough resources to deal with multiple fires over 3 acres with the resources that we have here in Larimer County. So it's different than the typical large fire that we talk about, 300 acres. So, but this is showing that we'll have fire activity. The large fire potential isn't there. But come June, July, with the lack of moisture, high temps, the large fire potential comes back in. So, but again, just want to reiterate that does not mean we will not have any fires. Next slide, please. So the sheriff wanted to recommend a fire ban. And we worked with the county attorney's office to get this done. And I think the next slide talks about the exemptions. So yeah, so it would prohibit everything but agricultural burning, which are exempted in state statutes. Persons with a permit, so we'll permit some types of activity, welding if it's in a bare open area, concrete around. Sometimes we'll issue burn permits, and other fire departments will for their districts. but they have to go out and visualize it. And then obviously any fire activity where we put fire down to slow the fire spread, sometimes that's obviously exempted. Gas grills and fire pits that are propane fueled or natural gas fueled, those are exempted. Pretty much anything you can turn off. So if you can turn it off, you can have it during this, is what the sheriff's recommending. And then the last one is if you have written authorization for that, like blasting at a quarry, which we've done. And sometimes the welding one is typically out at the landfill. They need to weld on the heavy equipment, and we've given them exemptions out there at the landfill for those during fire bans. Next slide, please. So, again, the sheriff's recommending a fire ban, except for the propane or natural gas types where you can turn them off, and then everything else would be banned. And I think you have that in front of you. And I do know we'll be back in 3 weeks when the sheriff's back, May 26th, to talk about whether we want to continue the fire ban or remove it as well, and then also have a discussion about fireworks at that time.
Thank you very much, Chief Whitesell. I imagine we will have some questions. Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, it is a weird day for you to be coming here because I think that that gives people some false hope, and I'm glad for the analogy about taking a shower after a run, because I think that you're right, you're not getting the kind of moisture you need inside, and with as dry as the ground is, I'm sure that some just sort of runs off in some ways. I mean, some of the snow will sink in, I suppose, but not enough to make the kind of difference that we need. And certainly as we were looking, I looked in the forecast, and yeah, it looks like, it could be 80 in, 6 days from now. So welcome to springtime in Colorado. Can you just remind us, kind of how we get the messaging out? Because it'd be good for people, to go to the website first, and then maybe their questions are answered, and they don't need to make the calls to you. And I know you're happy to accept the calls, but can you just remind folks where they can go to get the information?
Yeah, so the Larimer County website has plenty of information about the fire ban or fire restrictions, depending on where we are at, but that's always in there on the Larimer County webpage. And then we work with the county PIO, Tom and Michelle, along with the Larimer County Sheriff's Office Public Information Officer, to make sure that we do some press information when the decision is made. And that goes out with the link as well on where they can find out more information about the fire restrictions, fire bans, but it is on the sheriff's website and also on the county website. And then obviously, yeah, phone calls. I take quite a few people just having questions, and always happy to do that.
Do we ever specifically, and I think I've asked this question in past years, but I'm thinking about places like REI and Jack's and like Visit Fort Collins, and sort of, because I think that our residents are pretty aware, right? I mean, we've kind of dealt with this. We've seen those, for me, I've never been anywhere close to an evacuation area. And last time I was a couple blocks from an evacuation area with that ponds fire. And so, yet the people coming to visit, and I'm actually going to a conference in Denver with people coming from all over this country, and they're perplexed by snow, and then they're like, how do you deal with snow? And then 72 degrees the next day. And so like they don't have the experience or understand, kind of the dry conditions that we're dealing with, or that this won't resolve that. So is there any way we specifically try to help visitors kind of understand that, or is, and maybe we can just think on that. You don't have to have an answer here, but I'm just thinking that I'm hoping that our tourism boards and groups kind of help us push that messaging out, because I think that the people that are visiting may be the people that are more confused about what they can do.
No, and that's a great point, and that is something that we work on. We have posted flyers at REI and Jack's Farm and Ranch, or Jack's Outdoors, where a lot of the people that are coming from out of town and going to recreate up in the mountains seek supplies before they head out. So we have posted information at those sites before, and that is something we'll definitely do. And then working with our partner agencies, the Forest Service and fire departments from around the county, and make sure that they have the information as well and posting it on their sites. And that was another thing. The sheriff did reach out to the fire districts and also the U.S. Forest Service, but they haven't decided on what they were going to do quite yet. I know they were probably waiting to see what this event with this weather was going to do. But the sheriff had talked with Boulder County, and they were looking at going into a fire ban or stage 2 fire restrictions. And so he just felt it was good to get ahead of it rather than waiting.
Yeah, I think it's very smart. And that was going to be my other question, was like kind of adjoining counties. It's always good when we're sort of have the same messaging and the same kind of level of ban. That way people, aren't confused from county to county. So I think I'm glad that coordination is happening. So I think that's all for me.
Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner. I have a couple of questions, and then perhaps, Lorinda, you might have a question or some insights. First of all, thank you very much, sir, for always presenting the facts based on data, based on science. It's a complicated thing, like most things we do around here, so thank you very much for providing those slides. One question I have is, for folks to better understand what you just shared with us and the complexities of all this, what is the difference between the current fire restrictions, which ends today, and what we are considering for another month or so? Fire restrictions versus fire ban, what is different?
Yeah, the biggest thing would be in the fire restrictions, which we are currently in, is that if you have property in unincorporated Larimer County, you are allowed to have either a contained open fire, so in a fire ring, a fire pit, or an uncontained fire. You could have I don't necessarily want to use the word bonfire, but like a campfire. You're allowed to do that on your property. With a fire ban, you will not be allowed to do either of those, even a contained or uncontained open fire. You can use your charcoal or your gas grill in your back porch, but you can't use a fire pit, a wood fire pit, or a campfire on your property, even if as long as it's in unincorporated. This doesn't apply on city limits of the towns or cities.
Yes, thank you. And another question I have is, maybe it's related to what Commissioner Stevens was bringing up about how we get the word out. And I wonder, when people go to our website, larimer.gov or larimer.org, at the very top, there's usually something that says weather alert, like when I looked at it yesterday or something. Do we put up there, fire alert or wildfire? I mean, do we put up there? It seems to me, and this was also an email that I sent you from a constituent that I'm sure you had a chance to look at. I thought there were some good suggestions there. But whatever we can do to make the information that's on the sheriff's office website about fire danger, and then there's that other system, the Aegis, that I wonder if it makes sense to put some of that or a link right when people first go to the page, so they can also go to the sheriff's office page and also the Aegis, which also provides good complementary information. Thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, no, that's great. I did see your email that you forwarded, so I appreciate that, and had a chance to read through that, and I agree that there were some good comments in that email. And that's something that I can work with Tom and Michelle on the county side to see what we can do to make that more prominent. And then definitely on the Aegis website, I can work with some folks on that as well. I do think that both those places we can do a good job of making sure that that's prominently displayed so that people are aware, especially when we're in conditions like this. It's hard, right, to understand. And the deputies, obviously, on a day like today would not be writing tickets. It's more just going out to inform And then again, they even over the weekend, because we have switched from restrictions to ban, a lot of it would be education and just making sure that the public and folks are aware of that, and not necessarily ticketing them, but just trying to get the word out and making sure they understand the difference between a restriction and ban, because we do realize that it can be confusing for the public, and maybe not everybody looks at our webpage. So maybe there's some other platforms that we can make sure to push it to with the public information officer teams. I can reach out to them and we can figure some more of that out as well.
Thank you. Perhaps one additional question for now, and then perhaps Lorenda would like to add something, and that is, I'm wondering, since I've been in this job for going on 8 years, I don't recall us doing a quote fire ban. It's always been fire restrictions. Do you have information about how often we've done fire bans over the last 10, 20 years, perhaps?
Thinking back 30 years, I've been here now 30 years with the sheriff's office in some form with wildland fire, and thinking back through the years, I know Cameron Peak, we went into a fire ban shortly after that fire started. Okay. And then probably we've only done it since I've been here, maybe on the high end 5 times. So it's very rare.
Interesting.
Doesn't happen frequently. So
great. Thank you. Thank you, Justin. Lorenda, is there anything you'd like to ask or offer?
I guess I'd just like to say thank you for the approach of doing kind of a shorter term ban and then coming back to talk about the fireworks issue on May 26th. I think we'll know a little bit more about the weather conditions, about moisture, all of those kind of things on the 26th. And I think it still will give folks plenty of time to make plans if they have plans around fireworks sales, and commercial firework displays in unincorporated Larimer County. This is, again, I want to reiterate what you said. This does not affect what happens inside municipal boundaries. Those cities will make their own decisions, but you all do coordinate very well, and you work as a tight team. And I think we'll see a lot of similar actions across the region. So thank you for that. And I guess we'll see you back on the 26th.
Yes.
Thank you, Lorenda. Is there anything else you'd like to add, sir, before we consider the resolution before us?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add was, we've been very fortunate. We brought the Phantom Canyon crew on while 8 of them are on year-round. We did bring on an additional 12 earlier than we had planned because of the conditions. And fortunately, for all 3 of the fires that I highlighted that were significant, they made a difference on each one of those fires. And while they weren't in unincorporated Larimer County, one was in Weld County, we found out, and then the other 2 were in the city of Fort Collins, kind of on the boundary, while the Ponds fire was all in city limits. The Cougar Run was right on the boundary of city and county. The Phantom Canyon and emergency services folks were there from the beginning to the end. But bringing those folks on early made a huge difference. And so I just wanted to recognize the work that they did along with our partner agencies and being able to catch and suppress the fires that could have been pretty catastrophic. So we're very fortunate for all of our partners and folks that we have in Larimer County. And it's probably one of the more collaborative places around the country that I've been to and get to experience. So a lot of good work by all the folks involved. So
thank you. And would you be kind enough to express our appreciation to the Phantom Canyon wildland firefighting crew? Would you do that, please?
For sure.
And then before I want to acknowledge, and then before Commissioner Stevens offers the proclamation, maybe you could just, in simple words, tell us what we're considering here before we do the proclamation and vote. But I also want to acknowledge, I think it's important that there has been great collaboration between your shop and the county attorney's shop to make sure that the language in the resolution meets statutory muster, as they say. And so thank you to our county attorney who's here, and all of the folks in your shop and the sheriff's office. So thank you for that. But before we go to Commissioner Stevens, what exactly are we considering to approve here today?
Yeah, no,
one
that's
more
a great
time for the
question,
record.
and I'll make sure So
Thank you, sir.
the sheriff's office is recommending a fire ban on everything except propane or natural gas grills or fire pits. So a fire ban in unincorporated Larimer County is what the sheriff's office is recommending.
And that would extend to May 26th. Is that correct,
May
sir?
26th, yes.
Very good. Anything else, Commissioner Stevens? Then are you ready to make the motion? Move that.
Yeah, do you mind if, Mr. Chair, if I just say a couple words about some of the mitigation work that we've seen that's being
Oh,
done?
goodness gracious! I'm pretty easygoing. Please.
Thank you. I just wanted to, thank you, Justin, because, we've met teams of your folks when Commissioner Cafalis and I went on the tour up in the Red Feather Lakes and Livermore area of some of the really great work that's being done to mitigate. So just so folks understand that the prevention work is really important too, and that we have received grants from the federal government, that we will be pushing out grants to local residents to work on, around their property. So not only are we doing a ban, but we're really, you and folks in the Conservation Corps and others are doing really important preventative work to make sure that if there are fires, that they don't come close to housing or our water infrastructure and our water sources. And so this is a whole team of folks that do this work. And I just wanted to, the coalitions for all the watersheds in our communities, there's a lot of great work that's happening. So we are trying to attack this from several fronts. And, it was great to meet with the folks that you supervise, and that that we're out there doing the important work to try to make sure that these fires, when and if they happen, are confined to areas where we can knock them out quickly, where they're not affecting homes and our communities. And so just wanted folks to understand that we take a two-pronged approach. It's not just we're going to put a fire ban. We're trying to understand how to have more control and how to attack things really quickly, as the ponds was with the aerial support. Hopefully those resources will be available to us later in the summer when other people will be trying to access those same resources. But we are very cognizant of the danger right now. We've known for months that it's been very dry, and so I really just appreciate your data-informed approach in the way you proactively try to prevent those fires, and then and with a resolution like this as well. So that's all I want to say. Thank you, Commissioner.
Oh gosh, thank you very much for remembering to talk about that. And I know that the Phantom Canyon crew has joined the Larimer County Conservation crew, and they're doing some really amazing treatment work in strategic areas like the North Rim Road. To the east you have Glacier View Meadows, which is more populated. To the west is more forested, and so creating a space there on either side of the road with the permission of the private landowners is really critical.
No, it's been great. And we've had, and again, collaboration that we have in Larimer County with the Office of Emergency Management, and then the water coalitions and some of those folks that were able to make some great impacts that hopefully will help us in if we do need those areas, cutting the roadways along the roadways to get our first responders in, but evacuees out, make a huge difference. And those folks do that year round, so they'll continue to do that even on days like today. So it does make a difference, and we'll see it as well. So even during the Cameron Peak fire, where we have done and where the Forest Service had done mitigation, we've seen huge success in those areas. So we'll continue that because it is important. And I will say there is that third prong to that, the education piece that our shop and also OEM does a big piece of, and just trying to educate the public and go out and talk to them about the fire danger and what that looks like. And the last thing I'll add is that while it is a high fire danger area, this is what we plan for and work towards. So while it is one of those years where you're concerned about it, this is what we do to get ready for every year. And even though it doesn't come, so we'll be ready, we'll respond and deal with the incidents that continue to impact Larimer County.
Yeah, and thanks for acknowledging the nonprofits that are critical to this, like the Coalition for the Poudre River Watershed, the Big Thompson Watershed Coalition. They're doing a lot of amazing work in partnership. So thank you for mentioning that. I believe we're ready to do the proclamation, Commissioner.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the resolution declaring restrictions on fires and combustible devices in Larimer County effective from 12 a.m. on Wednesday, May 6, 2026 through 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday, May 26, 2026.
Wonderful, thank you. And I do believe that is a proper motion. And is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Well done, sir.
Right.
We'll keep on moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. We've gotten through our 3 discussion items this morning, and we now move to hear from our esteemed county manager, what she's been up to these days.
Thanks, Commissioners. I did meet last week with Sheriff Fan before he left town for his conference about this and other issues, and I appreciate his thoughtful approach as we walk the community through these fire dangers. And I really appreciate Justin's attention on education. We really do need folks to collaborate and cooperate along with this. And as we get closer to camping time and summer months, we will have more visitors. And so, Commissioner Stevens, thank you for the reminder. Perhaps we'll get the Natural Resources team also more deeply involved as they tend to interact more closely with those folks. I also had the chance to meet with Assessor Bob Overbeck last week. Those are always good meetings. Bertha Town Manager Chris Kirk and Fort Collins Downtown Development Authority Executive Director Matt Robenall. We do a lot of work with those agencies, and collaboration is really important. So finally, I think the best thing I got to do all week, I did with all of you, which was attend the Clerk and Recorder's I Voted sticker contest for those high school students. They were remarkable students who have amazing artwork. I don't know how they were able to take over 100 submissions and narrow them down to 10. I would have awarded them all, and I think they felt the same way, since each one will get a limited run of their sticker. So thank you to the clerk for holding that kind of event and for teaching us all again how to do ranked choice voting, talking about that process and about the way that ballots are handled in Larimer County. So I'll leave it at that for this week, and I'm sure you all may have more to say about those amazing kids.
Thank you, County Manager Volker. Any feedback, Commissioner, or anything?
No, thank you for all the collaborations that you and all the meetings that you have to make sure our communities stay connected.
Absolutely. At this time, we'll move into, I believe it's Commissioner Activity Reports. Woohoo. Commissioner Stevens, you're
Yes.
on if you'd like to share something.
Yeah, I'll just share a few things. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, on Tuesday evening last week, I got to attend the Board of Adjustment meeting. Was my first time attending their meeting. They do variances and setbacks and other kinds of variances to our land use code. All the commissioners are liaisons to the board, so I think we were all going to visit this year. But just wanted to commend them and really honestly all the people who serve on boards and commissions, because they ran a really great meeting. They asked really good questions. They got to the point. They deliberated quickly, and they made really good, sound decisions based on the facts that were presented before them. And so I just really wanted to commend them and how well that they ran that meeting and how nice it was to meet all of them. They do a job that is very helpful to us to be able to hear those minor variances when folks are trying to build on their property. So kudos to the Board of Adjustments. Then met on Wednesday evening with the Fair Board, and things are progressing well. Lots of great things happening. They've been very good about getting sponsorships, which is really appreciated for things like the Queen's Barbecue, but also for the parade and other events that surround the fair. And so it just really, they are a very active board. They do a lot of work outside the meetings, and really grateful. And just as a reminder, the parade will be on July 25th and the fair will be July 31st through August 4th. Then on Thursday, I attended the Works Allocation Committee, and that is, those are dealing with funds for temporary assistance for needy families, and our allocation formula will stay the same over the next year with all the things that are going on. We wanted to keep the allocation formula the same. Larimer County will get slightly more than we have in the past, which is always good, but we will see what we do for the following year. Then on Friday, we met with our CCI, Colorado Counties Inc. group, for various legislative updates and really a breakdown of what's been happening with those human services reorganization that we're doing at the state. We've, as I've said in the past, we've done a lot of negotiations with the state to try to reorganize human services so that with HR 1 we can still continue to support families in our community. I'm pleased to say that CCI voted to support that legislation going forward that was negotiated by a large percentage, and so really happy that we were able to find solutions that worked for not only our county and other big counties across the Front Range, but smaller rural counties as well. And, you know, the key really here is to share resources, to work together, to share best practices, to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our community and that we're following federal guidelines. So that was a good outcome to a long negotiation process. And then finally, as our county manager said, we had the I Voted sticker contest that all of us attended. And it was just so inspiring to see the artwork of young people in our community. High school students participated from across the community. I believe the winner was from Berthoud, but there were people that participated in all our communities in this contest. And we got to meet the 10 finalists, and they were all magnificent artists. So was really happy to hear that there will be a small run of all the I Voted stickers, because they are all wonderful. 3 featured stegosauruses, which was a popular theme. One was a stegosaurus on a skateboard, which is even more unique. But it was really great to meet students who are not only artists, but understand the importance of civic participation. So, and that is all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe the bill that you referenced as part of the CCI Health and Human Services Steering Committee conversation was introduced that morning. And you may have mentioned it, I may have not heard, but it's House Bill 26-1429, just for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for I'm not always good with the numbers of the bills, but thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome. I suppose I can share something. I'll try to be quick here. I'll begin with Tuesday. I attended at least the first half hour of it's now called the Mission Reconnect Coalition, but it's basically facilitated by some folks in our public health department, and it's a kind of a rejuvenation of the Veterans Together group. And I was there for a half hour. I learned a lot. They had a good presentation from the VA up in Cheyenne, the VA hospital. So it's another way to provide all the different nonprofits that work with veterans and their families come and they share information and they talk about events. Lee Cooper, our veteran service officer, was there. So I'm glad I went to that. On Wednesday, as I alluded to earlier, I attended a small group discussion with 5 fifth graders at Dunn Elementary School. A number of kids form these groups. They have parent mentors, and they identified projects. This particular group was taking on the simple matter of how do we prevent war. So we had a good conversation, and they'll do their presentations next week, and I hope to be able to attend. Both Commissioner Shattuck McNally and I attended the NOCO Impact Awards event at the Lincoln Center. This is put on by the Bridgewell Foundation, which in the old days was the McKee Medical Foundation. And they've done a lot of great things over the years. They help people address costs or that may be dealing with cancer and things of that nature. And one reason that I went is that one of the awardees was the Dinsmore family, Matt Dinsmore and his family and his parents, and they have Wilbur's Total Beverage, and they're just real good philanthropists and community members. That was a lovely event at the Lincoln Center. Then I think I mentioned Thursday night attended the Mi Voz mock administrative matters meeting. It's a small group, but it was a good session, and thanks to Adreliana Santiago for organizing that. Friday, it was mentioned about the Colorado County Zinc. Saturday, and maybe you mentioned this. I think all three of us attended the Family Center La Familia open house fundraising event, Growing Together, at their place on Hickory Street. So that was a nice event. Sunday also, I think all three of us were there too. There was the annual May Day picnic that involved a whole bunch of labor groups, and there were speeches and all the rest, and it was a nice event also. I think that's it. I believe I have nothing else to share, and I think we have come to the conclusion of our agenda. Therefore, at 10:56 a.m., we are adjourned. We wish everyone well.